Slingsby is going to be in the box seat here. He's furthest away from the line, less time to do. He's going to jump on the inside. There's that pole position. They can all hold each other up now. Watch out, Jimmy Spithill. You must keep clear of Tom Slingsby. There's going to be surely a protest put in there by Tom Slingsby. Ainsley's found some space with 8 seconds to go.
Penalty USA comes out.
It was.
Relative Australia.
Here we go, turning down for the gun. The line goes clear, the fleet's clear, but Spithill must drop back, and at the best angle and fastest at the gun, it's Ainsley. He should lead from here at Mark 1, but how brave are you feeling, Ben? It's the voice of Ian Jensen. They're flying too hard. They've stopped it. This could be over. Capsize coming.
For Great Britain in the finale, and so now it is 2 boats battling for the title as Australia sails away.
Oh my word, didn't let the jib sheet out on board there. There was a little bit of Grimsby dockyard language on the boat there, unfortunately, from Ben Ainsley and his crew. Big moment, understandable, and boosting away now. Oh, and there's a problem with the American boat. Tom Slingsby, what a job here. Turning downwind, he's done a great job at the start. We know how brave he is, Slingsby. Finish first you must finish.
So first he puts it on Jimmy Spithill in the start area, gets the penalty on the Americans, and then waits and watches as Ben Ainsley and the Brits put it over, and now it is all Slingsby sailing away.
That's Tom Slingsby saying your comms are off Milky. That's Jason Waterhouse. Used to love to be the Milky Bar Kid at fancy dress competitions when he was younger. Kept that name. He's the flight controller on board Australia now. Do not want your comms off in these conditions. The USA seem to have an issue on board their boat. We'll hopefully find out about that soon.
Yeah, the USA is still going upwind very slowly, so they've definitely got a problem. Right now we've got the British crew on their side. We hope everyone's all right. We'll get back to you about that. We've got the USA going upwind with a problem. Is this a victory lap for the Australians? Right now it feels like it, but they could still have a mistake that will end their race.
Just got to get it to the finish at gate 2. Turning up, it's getting real. It shows just how hard. There's no pressure from boats on this crew. It's only the pressure of the wind, and it's so hard here. I think you keep racing, Tom. I'm thoroughly on board with that decision.
And you've got to have your mindset. You cannot sail at 90% on these boats because you will capsize. Here's the British boat getting righted.
See a bit of damage there.
Yeah, that's some fairings, Todd. That's just the coverings to try and streamline the boat. They're very lightweight to try and make the boats high performance, but unfortunately, as soon as you do have an incident like this, they break, and we can see that there. So it's nothing but superficial damage, really, to be perfectly honest, that we could see at a glance. Just fairings come off there. We're still waiting to hear about the crew, but the fact they're getting on with getting the boat upright is good to see. And there's the USA and Jimmy Spithill. They've got the boat working again, but yeah, scratching his head. We're scratching our head as well, Jimmy. Don't know what's quite happened on board the boat there.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Jimmy Spithill is in a final, and we know when Jimmy Spittill's in a final, like, weird stuff happens to his boat. Let's find out what happened. We'll try and get some feedback from Ali Vance about what happened on board the American boat.
So this is quite an undertaking to get the F-50 back over. You guys talked about the minimal damage there. Again, we're hoping to get a good report that everyone is accounted for and uninjured, but the race goes on with Australia way down in front. You'll see them coming through momentarily. The Americans look to be back up and running. Points still at stake here, so Great Britain will claim third and final as we check in now with Ali Vance.
All the crew, Ali Vance, I think, still stuck out on the water, and she should give us some good information.
Yeah, there's no problems with the United States boat. The fact was that they were just stuck upwind. Basically, they couldn't bear away because the British boat were in the way, so they played it safe. They headed to wind. They're now back racing. They've got obviously a mountain to climb, but it's a long way to go in this race.
No question about it. Anything can happen, as cliche as it sounds. So let's go back and take a look one more time at that start incident. Stevie, you called it, how brave are you, Ben Ainsley? And apparently he was very brave.
Well, that wing sail, the big wing, has got wind coming from the big jib sail in front of it, and the jib doesn't get eased off. The boat tips up. Ian Jensen can't let the wing out. The boat starts to heel, and you see some big reactions there from the other crew, but it was a problem with the jib sheet. It didn't ease. The wing sail wouldn't go out. It started to heel over. Perhaps a little bit too brave. Here we go, we see it again now. They're turning the boat starts to heel because he doesn't ease the wing enough with the jib pinning it in. It pitch poles, down it goes, and you see the crew hanging on for dear life. They've gone from some 75 kilometers an hour to 0. The G-forces on the crew there. The fact they stay in their cubby holes, though, is a positive sign. On board again.
An amazing shot.
Ian Jensen stripping the winch. She's just chucking the rope at the winch and it's not coming out. Everybody braces themselves for impact. Let's just look at Ian Jensen's hands here. Easing, easing, stripping, stripping. It's not going anywhere, and everyone hunkers down to stay safe. And we're underwater.
So back to live racing action. Australia out in front, not being pressured at this point. They have the lead. It was interesting to see Great Britain put it over on that pitch pole, and it looked like the Americans were so close to the Australians, they almost had to pull the e-brake to avoid a collision.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was amazing how close we're on board with the Australians here on what I'm calling the victory lap, pretty much, as they're over a kilometre ahead as they get halfway through this final race. They were so close to going into the back of the British. That then spilled back onto the Americans. The Americans had to avoid the Australians. And for me, the Americans made a smart call, not doing a low-speed bear away. They knew they were probably going to pick up second. That's all good for a season 2 points.
And we take a look at the Australians as they make the turn at gate number 3, now on to leg number 4 of 6. The Americans some 1,500 meters behind them. So as Freddie pointed out, really is a sail to victory for them and the points. Yeah,
I would love to see the boats from behind as the British went over in front of them. I reckon it would be an unbelievable sight and really show the reactions.
Here you go.
Here we go. I'm going to be quiet here and just let this play out.
So right about now is where Great Britain's putting it over, and look at Jimmy Spithill. Watch this. Boom!
Big reactions there, and you just see the quick turn. It's the choreography between the flight controller, the helm, and the wing trimmer. The helmsman had to steer so quickly there, driving the boat.
You don't learn that. You don't learn that.
The flight controller can't keep up. It's just instinct. That's all that is. We see that. We come back on board now, live with the US crew, heading upwind here. And wow, it's been a big day out. Good learning opportunity for the Americans, and keep pushing here because you never know when one of these big gusts could surprise the Australian crew and give us a race, as we see there. Tom Slingsby blasting downwind on board the Australian boat there. Of course, we're going to be going to Australia next leg of the SailGP season will be in Sydney Harbour, and we take a look at the speeds here. Well, one boat's going downwind, one boat's going upwind, and look how much faster you go downwind, away from the wind. Australia doing 75 kilometres an hour, and their fly time at 83%. Massive there, but of course we know that that's not a fair reflection of the US crew in this race, but this is a fair reflection of Tom Slingsby. Are we racing? We really are racing. We're going hard all the way to the finish, no matter what, giving the crowd a great view here in Cadiz.
And if they hold on, the Australians, the defending champions from season number 1, what a bit of momentum they'll take into December's event down on home waters.
Yeah, this thing, Tom Slingsby seems to be all about momentum, Todd. This guy, he is the Ricky Bobby of SailGP. He's either first or he's last, and right now he's out in front, driving the boat on the limit.
3, 2, 1, turning up.
Did you see his leg go up there, Todd, getting ready for the G-force in the turn to hold himself in his position? That really was a lot better than the last time they rounded up where the boat flew out of the water. Final upwind leg here for the Australians. Talking about target speeds, 50 to 55 kilometres an hour of boat speed is their target speed. That's into the wind.
Let's go back to second place, the Americans, who were not really involved in the incident, but they did have to get away from the Australians. As we listen to Jimmy Spithill on board, continuing to race on. Again, these are points. They're going to finish in second place. The good news for the Americans, it doesn't look like they've broken the boat, and it doesn't look like broken anyone on board.
Well, and America, as it stands, Australia and America gaining points on Japan, and it's just going to concertina the overall season 2 scoreboard. It's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like at the end of the day.
CJ Perez getting the right of her life back there, the 18-year-old from Hawaii.
Absolutely, what an experience. She's just fresh back from winning the US Wasp National Championship, so she's a real foiling guru. And I think what she's seeing sailing with Jimmy Spithill is cold, calculated consistency. That's what Jimmy's delivered since his arrival in SailGP. I'm sure he'll be desperately wanting a victory, and I've expected a victory from him in one of these events, but what he is doing is not making mistakes. Freddie talked about the events that seem to take over the US boat when you get to a final race. Complete chaos takes place, but he's doing a nice job there on board the Americans, and he's going to be trying to chase down that Australian crew, but the distance top left is massive.
So there you see the distance as the Australians are heading upwind, the Americans still downwind, and this is wow, with all that race course, that's an awful close crossing. It's just the two of you. Why don't you give yourself some space?
must say I held my breath for a second there. That was proper sporty.
You have to wonder what could have been had Great Britain not pitch-pulled and put the boat over. The Americans were right on the heel of the Australians, and there you go. The Australians will sail right past Ben Ainsley and crew.
Almost rubbing it in there as to what could have been for the British crew. Of course, this was some start to the race, but this is what happens if you're racing on the edge, as we are here in SailGP. You sometimes fall over that edge, and Ben Ainsley experienced that. Tom Slingsby, well, he's used to being right near the edge, but right now, with just a couple of minutes left to go here, probably just one more tack and then a bear away for the Australian crew to execute. He's kept it right where he needs to, right on the edge and no further.
What an amazing change of scenery and distance from yesterday when it was taking almost 15 minutes to complete the 6 legs or 5 legs. They're doing this entire course in, what, 7 or 8 minutes now?
I think that's why this is the best sport in the world, Todd, because you're powered by nature, you're dependent on what nature delivers to you, and we're racing for a future where the sport is powered by what the Earth's got to give us, and it gives us this incredible action that we're seeing here in Cadiz. And yeah, it's a completely different sport.
It was sparklers yesterday, it is full-on fireworks today.
Good increase here in 2, 1, puff on.
That's the voice of Kyle Langwood there. They're still calling.
Burley, now I've got the speed to the barrel lane. Yeah, big left, you guys, so one struggle.
He's talking about the wind. It's turned to the left, so they're making the gate at the moment, but he's anticipating the wind changing direction and making things hard. Could be a potential jibe off down here for the Australians if the wind stays turned the way it is. Watch this bear away. Can they keep it upright? Big pressure moment for the Australians. Just execute this, and it should be a delivery job to the finish. Whoa.
And the regrip, once you've borne away and the regrip of the foils as you bring the wing back on, when you're sailing these boats, your stomach just gets ripped out from underneath you, and no matter where you are in the race with a big lead like these guys have got, still is a hairy, hairy moment.
Traveling in excess of 30 kilometers an hour as they make the final turn, and it will be Tom Slingsby, Australia SailGP, the defending champions from season 1. Look at this, they're going to finish in close to 12 minutes time, all 6 legs. Congratulations, Australia takes the Spain Sail Grand Prix.
Okay, unloading here. Nice work.
Kind of nice to see Tom Slingsby with a smile there after the disappointment of finishing last in Saint-Tropez. Big moment for that Australian crew, and for the season as it is, they're going to go into a home event in Sydney on the back of a victory. Got to think that's huge as those guys fly south.
But let's not forget last year when they were on home waters and Ben Ainsley came down under and put it on him. And you got to think that Tom Slingsby remembers that.
I think he's going to remember that, but is Ben Ainsley going to forget this race in a hurry?
Not in a month of Sundays.
There you go.
Jimmy Spithill, USA SailGP into the final yet again, but that all-elusive win in the final race. Once again, they don't get it. I think it, though, goes to consistency of the Americans. They get to it overall, but look how they are on the overall standings. They're right at the top.
Yeah, I mean, they're just chipping away, aren't they? They obviously in Bermuda had the big crash with Japan. I personally think they got a bit done over by getting penalty points taken off them for the overall season. If you put those penalty points for the overall season back on the leaderboard, they'd probably be leading season 2. So they're just chipping away, constantly making finals, very rarely outside the top half of the fleet. I think they're really happy with this weekend. And we talked yesterday about what we're going to find from Cadiz is our best all-round crew. Do you think with Australia we found our best all-round crew? They've struggled in the light historically, but they did well yesterday in the light, and here they are doing really well in the breeze.
Well, that's right, and we saw how hard it is their attack. They're on their own, and they just jump too high out the water. That's Paul Campbell-James. Keep going. We've got to get to the finish. He's quite right there. I think we probably have found our best all-round team in Tom Slingsby, but the thing with Tom Slingsby, you just don't know which Tom Slingsby's going to turn up. He's either brilliant or benign.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yep. And the class of the field certainly showed their faces here in Cadiz as the Americans, the Great Brits, and of course Australia and Japan, I think still has some class to them with the event still to come in Australia. And then of course we make the turn to San Francisco in March of 2022. And those waters, as you guys know, a little bit tricky as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't count out Nathan Outridge. I think we've possibly confirmed they are a bit of a light wind specialist. He's got a definite area to work on. Look at this tack here on board the USA. We see they turn the boat, too much lift on that main foil, and they leap out of the water, and that will have been the transition between Jimmy Spittle and Rome Kirby, where they're swapping over as they bear away here. They've got their game face back on, because that's a brilliant bear away. They're struggling to make that 15-minute time here potentially, but somewhat not a problem at the moment.
Yeah.
They should still be fine for a second place finish anyway, regardless of whether they make it to the finish. But yeah, it just shows the quality. Look at the time of Tom Slingsby. Going to be over 3 minutes ahead of the US crew.
So the Americans will still hold on to claim second place on the final race here at Spain Sail Grand Prix Season 2, event number 6 from Cadiz.
Hey guys, good regatta. That one.
That was a good regatta to me, Todd. Second place again, consistency counts.
Okay, boys, you want
and
to drop?
done a really nice job there. And yeah, what a first day out in a final for CJ Perez, just 18 years old. I wish I could have been on the boat like that back then.